Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Maggie here, back with another video. So for this week's video, I'm actually going to be doing some Halloween makeup looks. This is going to be the first video of my series. I'm going to start off on a very light note with makeup looks from the anime series called Naruto. And I cannot tell you guys how excited I am to do this. I am not a makeup artist by any means, but I love playing with makeup, and these are definitely going to be the looks that take me out of my comfort zone. For the first makeup look, I'm going to be doing the character Orochimaru. He's one of the famous villains of Naruto, and I figured he'd be one of the easiest for me to replicate since he has long black hair and I have long black hair, technically blue, but that's why I put this on to cover it, but it's okay. So yeah, his look is pretty simple, but the eye part is probably gonna get to me. Let's see how it goes. So guys, bear with me. I am in front of my window, which is probably why you can hear the cars in the streets and the train. I'm actually gonna switch over to voiceover so that way you don't have to worry about hearing all the noise that's coming from outside. So let's get started, and I hope you guys enjoyed this whole video. Alright guys, so I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm basically starting the way that I would if I was to be doing my regular makeup, which is with my e.l.f. primer. I'm just putting that all over my face just to give me more of a smooth look. Then I'm going to be going into my Athena face painting palette, which I actually just bought on Amazon and I love it. It has like every color that I needed for these looks. And I'm going to start off with my concealer brush, and I'm just going to be tapping into the white color of that palette and basically just putting it all over my face. I would have used a bigger brush, but since the space in the palette is so small, I didn't want to, take the risk of grabbing another color, so I just used my concealer brush. Then I went into my beauty blender and I just used that to blend in the white so there wouldn't be any harsh lines, and I continue adding more white. I added about 3 layers of the white because every time that I would blend it in, it would kind of get a little faded or light looking, so I just kept adding layers. Honestly, if I would have known any better, I would have probably added in another layer of the white just so that it wouldn't look so patchy overall in the end. As you can see here, I'm adding also to my forehead, and I'm only doing half of my face on camera just because I obviously repeat the same steps on the other side of my face. And it's funny because once I saw myself with just half a white face, I thought I looked like the villain in Naruto called Setsu. He's one of the Akatsuki members. I don't even know how to say it, but he's the one that has half black and half white face. And I thought I looked like him for a second there. Once I did my whole face, I just dragged down the white to my neck because obviously Orochimaru's whole body is white. I didn't really go into my ears because, I have piercings and I knew it was going to be a heartache to take that off later on. But the hair covers it, so it doesn't even matter. I just brought it down a little to my neck because obviously you can still see my neck in the clothes that I'm wearing. Once I finished with the white, I went into my James Charles palette and used the white eyeshadow. Basically what I was doing here was just going in with my sponge to take out any lines and then using a brush to go over with the white eyeshadow. This is supposed to set the cream so it doesn't crease or it doesn't spread everywhere. Honestly, this face paint is really oily, so I noticed that even though I tried setting it with the white powder, it can still rub off, or I would still, have lines created towards the end, but it was definitely still much better than if I was to not have set it. Then I went back into my James Charles palette and used a black eyeshadow just to contour my face. I basically just tried to give my face more structure. I used the same technique that I would have used if I was doing my regular makeup. I contoured the side of my cheekbones. I went up to my forehead as well. And you can just see me here blending it out with my beauty sponge just to make it look more natural. And the forehead looks a little splotchy. I do think I did put a little bit too much of the black shadow, but I do go in to fix that later on. And I'm also contouring my jawline, just trying to make my jaw look more square like Orochimaru. You can even see I went into my chin area because he does have a very square looking chin, and I just tried to create that illusion with the black eyeshadow and blended it all out until it looked like it was my natural jawline basically. Now you can see me going back into my cream face palette and touching up the white parts. Like I mentioned before, I do think I made my forehead a little bit too dark with the black shadow. After that, I went back into the palette to use the purple shade. I used another concealer brush that I had just so that I could cover more space at a time, and I basically just made my whole lid purple. Then I went in with a thinner brush and tried to create the whole design that Orochimaru has in his eye area. And honestly, guys, it was so hard to know what to do like on the end side of my eye because his hair mostly covers that area. So I just made like a wing look. But I pretty much winged it. I wasn't sure how that side of his face looks. I couldn't find pictures of it. So yeah, I'm just creating basically a wing. And then I matched my other eye, did the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going in with my concealer brush with the white paint, and I'm basically just cleaning up some of the purple and using my sponge to blend it out. Now I'm going in with a black eyeliner and I'm just lining my waterline. He basically has the whole eye area lined with black, but I'm starting with the pencil. Now I'm going in with a small fluffy brush and tapping into the two purple shades of my James Charles palette and setting my purple eyelid look. Like I mentioned before, if I do not set it with powder, then it spreads and creates lines and it does not look good. So every time I use the cream paint, I would set it with shadow. Then I went back into the black with the thin brush and I just outlined my whole eye area, like under my eye, the top of my eye, and tried to go in a little bit to my inner corner. Once I finished with the liner, I went back in with my concealer brush and the white paint and just cleaned up the eye area, especially around the purple that spread a little. Now I'm going into my eyebrows. I basically just went over my natural eyebrow with the black face paint color because Orochimaru basically just has really black, dark, thin eyebrows. So since my eyebrows are already really thin, I just basically filled them in with the black color and I brushed them up. I also went in with the concealer brush again and just cleaned up the area to make them look even more thinner. And guys, I do realize I did not follow the makeup rule that you're not supposed to use any cream over powder, but I kept having to touch up the white even though I had already set it with the powder. And at this point, guys, I was basically just winging it because I noticed that Orochimaru has a very flat nose with like two little points at the end, so I tried to recreate that, but I have no idea what I was doing. And I also added some more black shadow right under my lip. I basically just tried to follow the shadows that he had in his face from looking at his picture. I darkened up my inner lip a little bit with the black paint just to give myself the illusion of like smaller lips. And I tried to recreate his smirk by adding little lines on the corners of my lips. And guys, this is the finished look. Alright guys, so for look number 2, I'm going to be doing Naruto in Sage mode. So as you can see here, he actually has an orange type of look. As you can tell, I don't have hair similar to his and I don't have a wig. So you guys, if you guys want, you can purchase a wig and you can purchase the clothes that he uses, but I just figured I could stick with his theme of like black, yellow, orange and go with the makeup look. The same thing goes with my eyebrows. I know he has blonde eyebrows because he's blonde, but I'm gonna keep my eyebrows, you know, their natural color.
Should I make them yellow?
A little longer than a few minutes later.
This doesn't look so bad.
More moments later.
Let's start over. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, I'm sorry guys, I know the highway sound was so bad. But basically, it was a huge fail trying to make my eyebrows yellow, so I just decided to go fill in my eyebrows the way that I naturally do them. And as you can probably tell, I already did my face makeup routine. I basically just did what I usually would do, except for I just went lighter. I used mostly the lightest concealer shade all over my face as opposed to my right foundation color. So as you can tell already, I went in with my thin brush and tapped into the black color on the Athena face paint palette and basically just drew the little whiskers that Naruto has. I know they're not really whiskers, but yeah, I just basically tried to draw them in. I kind of made a little mistake with the lines, so I tried to erase them and do them over again, but honestly I feel like they turned out better the first time than the second and third time, but I just left it as it was. Then I went back in with the thin brush and used the orange shade in that palette, and I basically just started doing the outline for his eye shadow or his eye look, the orange eye, and I started filling it in. This was not easy, guys. Like, it was very hard to tell like exactly the shape that he had in the picture, but I basically just did my best to match it as much as possible, and I used my concealer brush to fill in the rest of my eyelid to make it easier because there was a whole lot of orange in his eyes. So I just tried to basically match it. Then I went into my James Charles palette, tapped into the two orangey shades at the top.
Where's my concealer brush? Where's my concealer brush? Concealer brush, concealer brush.
And finally I found my concealer brush and used that basically to set the cream with the powder.
Now the best part, matching the other side, yeah.
Alright, once I matched the other side, I went back into my thin brush and tapped into the black paint color, and I just lined my upper lid and basically all around, like my lower eyelid, and basically just did my best to match Naruto's eyes. Once I finished up on my inner corner, I went in and put some more concealer in my mouth because basically he has the same color of mouth as he does skin color, so I just try to replicate that. And this is basically my final look, guys.
ジライアちゃんが戦死。
は？何言ってんだよ。ばあちゃんが行かせたの。ばあちゃんは江戸仙人の性格よく分かってたんだろう。たった一人でそんな危ねえところに。
わしはコロハの3人だぞ。